Hi, my loves, and welcome back to I'm On Your Side with me, your host, Sierra Boudreau. I hope you guys have had a good week and also a happy beginning of November. The day that I'm recording this is actually the day before it comes out because I've been traveling and on a 2-week trip, it seems like. I was gone and then I was back to celebrate my birthday and then I was gone again and now I'm here and just the days got away from me and I looked at my calendar and I was like, oh, it's Saturday. And I actually do have a podcast that comes out every Sunday that must be recorded. So here I am recording it, which is totally fine. The good thing is I had an outline written out, so I knew exactly what I was going to talk about. I just needed to sit down and talk about it, but it is November, and just like with every month, we're like, oh, it snuck up on us. But truly, I do feel like November snuck up on me, and I was thinking this morning as I was just kind of scrolling through my feed how people have started decorating for Christmas already, because that's what you do on November 1st. Obviously, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, peace be with you and such. So it's November and people have started decorating, and I just feel like we have condensed fall so much. It used to feel like fall was a normal 3 months, right? But now it feels like fall is literally the month of October. That is all you get for fall. By November, you need to be ready to ho your way through the holidays, and before that, you want to be soaking up the last bits of summer. And so fall has really not had its time to shine, which I used to be like, why are people decorating for fall so early? It's not even fully chilly outside, whatever. And now I get it because it feels like the rush to get to Christmas truly starting earlier and earlier. I was also never one to subscribe to the idea that you have to start decorating for Christmas after Thanksgiving, because here's my belief. Thanksgiving is a day. Thanksgiving is not a season. Thanksgiving would typically fit within the fall season, but as we know, we have started celebrating Christmas in the holiday season so much earlier. And so I'm sorry, Thanksgiving, but you don't get the same pumpkin, the same fall, the same that kind of thing. It seems like Thanksgiving is kind of a precursor to Christmas more so than its own standalone thing, which is funny because obviously the whole thing with Thanksgiving is to be thankful and to take time to slow down and be with loved ones and all that. We're not really doing that. We are rushing to Christmas, which is kind of the whole season of togetherness and community and, all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving. No, oh my God. Happy November, soon to be Thanksgiving. I do have my Christmas lights coming to get set up on the 22nd. As you guys know, I just bought my house. So this is my first holiday season. And I'm having someone come out and install Christmas lights for me and do the whole setup. And I'm so excited because I remember in my childhood, that is one thing we did most years. We set up for Christmas and had this whole setup outside. And I really loved seeing the entire neighborhood. I loved how we did it. It just felt so homey and just so warm, and I loved that. So I was just always really excited to get to do that for my own house, and now here we are. I get to do it. But also, to reverse a little bit, Halloween just passed, and I was so nervous, you guys, that I wasn't going to have any trick-or-treaters, just because you see all this stuff online where people are like, I got all this candy, and then I had 2 trick-or-treaters and whatever, and I was like, oh, do people not trick-or-treat in my neighborhood? And really, there's no way to know until Halloween came around, and so I prepared the best that I possibly could for it. I went to Costco. I got a bunch of candy, got 3 of those full size, those big bags of candy. So I got those. I got a little table, chairs to put outside, the little things that they could reach into and grab the candy from. So I was really set up. But then I was picking up Alex from the airport and his flight was a little bit delayed. And so I had to go get him. And by the time we got back, it was 6:30. And we had seen on the Ring camera that some people were coming up, some kids were coming up and ringing the doorbell so that they could trick or treat. And my heart was literally broken seeing them just stand there with their open bags, smiling, excited for someone to open the door. And then obviously I wasn't there, so I couldn't open the door. And it was devastating. And I was so worried that by the time we got back, they were going to be done. But by the time we got back, there were still some people out. I think if we had started earlier, obviously we would have gotten kind of that first wave of trick-or-treaters. But that first wave was the babies. And I was so excited to see their costumes because the kids, the young kids' costumes are always so precious. And as I get older, obviously they're sweet too. And everyone, all the kids in the neighborhood were so polite. Alex and I were sitting there almost shocked by how polite they were. I think that neither of us are really around kids a lot. And so you just kind of get what you see online, and people are always talking about how kids are so disrespectful and kids are whatever, always having negative things to say about kids these days. But the kids in the neighborhood were so polite. They would come up, they would say hi, they would say trick or treat. And then if I handed them the little bowl to get the candy out of, they would literally take one one piece and say thank you, which I was expecting them to take handfuls. That's why I got so much. So I started just giving out handfuls of candy because I realized if they were going to come up and take it themselves, they were only going to grab one piece. And at that rate, we were going to have candy for the next 2 years. I was giving them scooping handfuls, especially towards the end when I realized it was kind of dwindling down and there wasn't a lot more time to give out candy. I was like throwing candy at them. And then I got to meet some of the people who lived on my street and surrounding streets, which was really fun. Some people who live like further down on either side. I've met most of my neighbors that are like directly around me, but people who live a little farther down, I haven't really met, or if I have passed by them on walks or whatever, I didn't know exactly where they lived. So that was nice. Got to meet them, got to meet their kiddos. And so it was a fun little Halloween. My first Halloween in the books was a success. And so now I know how to prepare for the coming years. And I also next year want to be more prepared and get some like Halloween decorations for outside. It just completely slipped my mind. Like I was not at all thinking about Halloween until a couple days before. And I was like, oh my God, whoa, Halloween is in the next couple of days. Like I need to get this together. And so I was trying to find some little stuff to put outside, but we went to Home Depot because I know Home Depot usually has some Halloween decorations. They had nothing. This is before Halloween. They had nothing. Costco had nothing. Sam's Club had nothing. Walmart had nothing. Target had nothing. I mean, it was like if you wanted to get Halloween decor, you would have needed to do it beginning of October because everything was completely wiped out. So we had like some pumpkins on the front porch, and I guess that was enough, but we were sitting outside, so people knew to come to us anyway. But all that to say, Halloween is done. Thanksgiving Day is around the corner, but Christmas season is here. I'm really excited for this Christmas season. I, of course, started decorating the house. We went to At Home and Hobby Lobby and got just a bunch of different stuff. I got 3 trees so far, and I need to get one more because in my living room, I'm having 3 trees. I have 2. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have already seen all of this. I haven't talked about it on TikTok yet, but I have 2 skinny trees in the living room, and then I'm going to do the big tree in the back corner of the living room, but then I need another one for the dining room because when I went, I was thinking I was only going to do 2 in the living room, 1 in the dining room, but now I'm kind of seeing the space, and I think that I can definitely do 1 big tree in the living room. So that one that I bought yesterday is getting moved into the living room, and then I need to get 1 more for the dining room so that you can see it through the windows. I think it's going to be so beautiful. But just walking in this morning and like plugging on all the lights and getting to see everything all lit up when it was still kind of gloomy outside, it felt so cozy, which is part of the reason I'm recording this so much later in the day than I thought I was going to. It's not even that late. It's only 1, but I was planning to record this earlier, but it was just so gloomy all day, and it still is pretty gloomy outside, honestly. It's like not very bright, but it just made for a very, very cozy, very warm environment. And then I was looking at my living room and I was like, oh yeah, you have a fireplace, by the way. And I know that I need to get that chimney swept. I don't want to turn it on before the chimney is swept just because on the inspection they did notice they were sitting there, and so I just don't know how bad it is. I don't want to cause a house fire. I just would rather get it cleaned and wait until that happens, make sure everything is good with the fireplace in and of itself before I turn it on. But once that gets done, it is going to be literally a winter wonderland in my living room, and I'm so excited about it. I love it so much. And the sunroom is still very much the sunroom. There's not very much Christmas stuff in here. Actually, there's no Christmas stuff in here right now other than these little lights that you see, but I wouldn't say that's Christmassy. Those have been up since we moved in, but I might get a little tree to put in here. I don't know. I do think 4 trees is probably enough. I think with 4 trees, I've done it. You know, I don't know that I need one in here, but maybe I'll put some garland up. I don't know. I might make it a little festive in here, but I do kind of like that this is an area away from that, like an area where there's just normalcy, because I'm sure that you guys have experienced this at some point in the holiday season. You look around and you're like, if I have to look at that Santa one more time, I'm gonna scream. Like I cannot be covered in the holiday cheer for one more second. That usually happens towards the tail end of December for me. I'm like, all right, it's time to wrap it up. But it's nice to have an area in the house where I can come and it's not Christmassy at all. So if I am feeling like that, I can just hang out in here and I won't feel pressured to take everything down early. So that is that. I was in Santa Barbara last week and that trip was so fun. I had the best time. I mean, it was like a full-blown brand trip. It was just so amazing in every way. The hotel was nice. The food was nice. They gave so many little gifts. The people they invited were incredible. I loved getting to hang out with those other creators, the people on the Rael team. I got to meet the CEO and founder of Rael, which was incredible. If you're not familiar, Rael is this brand. It's, I would say, a women's health brand. They have skincare. They have period products. products, they have supplements, like everything that you would need for women's health, they carry, which I think is incredible. In talking to the CEO, she was saying that over time, they're obviously going to expand more and more and just be that one-stop shop for women, which I think is so nice, because sometimes I feel like with women's health, you don't really know where to start. You don't really know what products to include into your regimen. And I love that they have like these complete collections of things that you can get. So trying to find out what you need to do next or what order it goes in isn't really such an issue because they have it all. And I really like the brand. I have been using their skincare for a while now, and they also have period products, and they have a cup, which I love. I'm a menstrual cup girly. So a lot of great products. This isn't a sponsored part of the podcast, obviously, but with all that said, we can get into the episode. I've been thinking so much about the election, obviously. I think the election has been literally top of mind. Right now, we are a couple days out from Election Day, and I voted yesterday, which I was so happy to do. I've voted every election since I've been eligible, and it's just so incredible to me that in the 3 times I've been able to vote, 2 of them have been for female candidates. I voted for Hillary in 2016, and then in 2020, of course, Joey got my vote. And then now in 24, I got to vote for Kamala, which I mean, there's layers there. I think her being a woman, her being a black woman, her being a black woman who is so unapologetic about who she is and what she stands for, it's just so refreshing to see. I think it's one thing to have a woman running for president, right? But then having a woman who looks like you and has the same drive and passion and unwillingness to relent in her career is just so beautiful to see, for me to see. And I have really loved following her campaign. I have loved seeing, her talking points, getting really familiar with the policy that she's spoken about. It's just been a great process. And I think this election has been truly so stressful. Obviously, when it was still Trump and Biden, it just was a whole different race. It felt like it was just kind of hopeless on either side, with both of them being elderly men, like older elderly men, right? And then it just felt like I wasn't excited about voting for Biden. I don't think any of us were really, if you were voting for Biden, I don't think any of us really were excited about voting for Biden, but I also was never going to vote for Trump. That was just never going to be me. I think it's really interesting that a convicted felon can run for office, but a convicted felon can't vote, right? So I think that's a little backward. And Trump just isn't for me. Obviously, he is for some people, as he is out there getting votes or whatever, but just not for me. I was never going to vote for him. I don't like what he has to say. I don't like what he stands for. I don't like his vibe at all. I don't like the way he does his makeup. Let's say that. Let's put that out there. Just made me feel kind of disappointed about where we are as a political system, where we are as citizens of the states, right? Like how we could so willingly put forward a candidate like Trump and be proud of that and be excited about that. That just kind of makes my stomach churn a little bit. And like, I would say I'm not trying to villainize Trump, but actually I am. And if that offends you or makes you uncomfortable, then that is your right to be offended. That is your right to be uncomfortable. And it's also your right to not listen to the rest of the show if you don't want to listen to the rest of the show. But as for me and mine, we are anti-Trump. And I think that being very politically neutral does not serve us. I don't think it does us any good. I think that being politically neutral for the sake of everyone feeling comfortable and everyone feeling like they have a place here is giving more grace than they're giving us. Why is it that Trump and people who support Trump can so loudly say these racist, these homophobic, these sexist things on stage, right? But then I have to give political neutrality so that no one's offended and so that my account and my podcast and whatever is a safe space for everyone. It doesn't need to be like that. And while I'm actively voting for the preservation and the protection of my livelihood and other people's livelihoods, I just don't think I need to be super sweet to the other side that's trying to take that away from me and others. And so that said, I've been thinking a lot about the election, thinking a lot about my place in this republic, which sounds like so dramatic, right? But honestly, what does it look like with a Trump win? What does it look like with a Harris-Walz win? What does it look like the days after the election when there's uncertainty, which obviously there's going to be uncertainty. I really don't think should Trump lose, he's going to take that loss easily. I think that if Kamala wins, there's going to be uproar. If Trump wins, there's going to be uproar. It's just going to be a really uncomfortable remainder of the month, maybe remainder of the year. And all of these feelings were feelings that I've had kind of suppressed a little bit, right? And I think that there is a level of trauma and a level of burden that comes with constantly engaging with political content when it comes to realizing that if the other side wins, I really might not have the same rights to my body as I've grown accustomed to having. And they actively want to take that away. That's not, maybe one day we'll get around to it. They are very much anti-abortion. And whether or not I personally would have an abortion, whether or not you personally would have an abortion, you deserve the right to have one, the freedom to have one, a safe one, because as we know statistically, stopping legal abortions only stops safe abortions. Abortions are still happening. Women are still dying, right? Like whether or not it's safe and legal doesn't mean it's going to happen or not happen. When you take away the safe path to abortion, to having rights over women's own bodies, it doesn't mean it's going away. It doesn't mean it's not happening anymore. And the argument may be, okay, well, if we make it illegal, there will be less. No, babe, there will not be drastically less abortions. There will be less safe ones. There will be less women surviving abortions. There will be more children born without parents who want them, it's important for your parents to want you. It is important for your parents to love you. You probably know this, as you likely have parents who care for you, who have provided for you, who have shown up for you. Most of you probably did not get adopted out of the system that is not actually set up for children to thrive in. You know what I mean? Like, I think that we have such an external view of it all, and we're like, well, women just shouldn't get abortions because children deserve to live. What about the kids that we have? What about the kids that are living right now? What are we doing to serve them and help them? Because I know the party that wants to take away safe and legal abortion is also the party that is trying to take away free lunch at school, free breakfast at school, programs that actually help children thrive in the school system. So what is it? Do we want kids here to just be miserable, to suffer? Because I would never want that. And I would also never want a woman to have to go through an entire pregnancy that she doesn't want. Because having an abortion does not just stop you from having a child. Having an abortion stops you from having your entire life changed, your entire body changed. And we know that Black women suffer a higher mortality rate from childbirth than other women do. Black women are less likely to be listened to by their doctors than other women. It's a really big decision to bring life into this world. And if somebody doesn't want to do that, they shouldn't have to do that. And it shouldn't just be in the case of medical necessity or incest or rape or these other awful, cruel things. You don't have to suffer this great tragedy to decide, I don't want to have a kid. And choosing to not have that baby once you are pregnant does not make you bad. I need you to hear that. If you have had an abortion, if you right now are weighing an abortion, if you are curious about what your options are, and you live in a state where you still have access to an abortion, however far along you are right now, you are not bad for making that choice. And maybe further down the line, if you were to get pregnant again, you'll be excited and overcome with joy, and you'll be ready to parent and raise that baby. But if right now you are not, it is okay to not have that child. And I'm so passionate about this and so open about my opinions on this because I think that a lot of us in the influencer space try to be quiet and try to be mindful of everyone. And you know what? I'm not trying to shame, I'm not trying to judge, but as for me, I think it is the least I can do to tell other women, to tell minorities, to tell people in the LGBTQIA plus community that I am with you. I am one of you in some of those cases, and I am with you. It's important to me because you guys are giving me your time and your attention and your money. The least I can do is say I stand for you and your rights, even if I don't fit within the community in which rights could be stripped. It is not about that. It is about this empathy that extends beyond. It is about this understanding and this care that extends beyond myself and my immediate family and my immediate close friends. It's important to me. And I'm sure that might make some people uncomfortable, but my job is not actually to make everyone comfortable. My job is to share my life and share my experiences and be open with you guys. And I love that job and I value that job. and that job doesn't stop at politics. And if me sharing my political views and opinions makes you uncomfortable or makes you feel disappointed, babe, there are so many influencers out there that you can follow that say completely silent on these events, that will not utter a peep about voting, about registering, about who they're voting for, about what they believe in. And if you want to give your money and your dollar to those people because they don't make you uncomfortable, or they don't challenge your way of thinking, or they don't ask you questions that probably should be asked, then go find them. You don't even have to look very hard. There are so many. But as for me and my community, we're going to talk about these things because these things are affecting us and you and the people that we love and people we don't know. And I think it is my obligation to put my vote where my mouth is. I think that if I tell you I love you and I am on your side, that I am here to show up for you, I am here to walk through life with you. I, in some cases, am one of you, and in other cases, I stand with you. If I'm going to say that and you guys are going to believe me, and that belief affords me your attention and your time and your follow, your money, then it is my obligation to vote in a way that protects and uplifts and serves all of us, right? And now that I'm a little farther into this episode, I realize I actually did have other stuff that I wanted to talk about. It kind of was going to lead into that topic, but now that I'm speaking about the politics and my opinion and my beliefs and all of that stuff, I think that this episode deserves to be a standalone episode. I think talking about this and raising the importance of it, especially a couple days before the election, is exactly what I should be talking about right now. And I'm so thankful that I never lived in fear of sharing my political opinion or sharing any opinion that I've had really online, because I know people are going to disagree with me. I'm sure people are going to disagree. I'm sure some people might not listen to the rest of the season. Some people might not listen to the podcast anymore altogether. And that is okay, because I have come to terms with the fact that I actually don't live to please social media. I live to please myself and the people that I love. And I pride myself on being the same in person as I am online. I really, really do take a lot of pride in that. And in person, I am heavily opinionated. In person, I am telling everyone to vote. In person, I am not shy at all about who I'm voting for. And so why would I not do that online? And I, unfortunately, have been living on political subreddits. I have been living on Twitter, just trying to, I think, bring myself a little bit of peace about the election. Obviously, I'm anxious. I think that everybody's anxious, like I was mentioning earlier. And for some reason, I have convinced myself that if I just stay super up to date on everything that's being said, everything that's happening, then I'll feel a little bit better. But as we know, polls really aren't very reliable. And like really the poll that we need to be paying attention to is our vote and the votes of the people around us, the votes of the people that we are encouraging to vote. Like that really is the only poll that we can take as truth, because that is the poll that we have fact of. That is the poll that we can control. I can't control what people in Pennsylvania are doing. I can't control what voters in Georgia are doing. You know what I mean? Like I can only control who I'm voting for and the belief that the people in my life are also voting in a way that protects and preserves me and others who look like me and people who may have different experiences but still need to be protected and uplifted. And those are the people that I keep in my life, right? And like I said, I've been keeping up to date with things people are saying online. And it's really interesting because, of course, there's some Republicans coming out and saying, you know, I voted for Trump in 2016 and I voted for Trump in 2020, but now I realize he's bad. Now I'm going to vote for Kamala. And it's like, right, okay, this isn't actually the serve that you think it is, voting for Trump 2 times and then finally coming around to the fact that he's awful in 2024 after the damage that he's already done, after the hate that he's been allowed to spew that you agreed with. Because a lot of what we know about Trump now, we also knew in 2020. We also knew in 2016. The only thing we didn't know in 2016 was how he was going to be as president, because he wasn't president yet. And so there was kind of a blind agreement. Sure, you could only go off of what his policies were, what he said. But even then, what he said was actually quite frankly awful. And yet you still voted for him. And then 2020, you circle back and do it again. And you think, okay, maybe this time's going to be different. And then when he lost, he incited so much violence. And then everybody was like, okay, yeah, we're going to have him be the Republican nominee again. And people still refuse to believe that he lost the election. And I just on his Twitter, it's so captivating to read that he is already instilling fear in the election election and voting process that we have been going through for 200 years. He's already planting disbelief in the system. He's already saying there's so much fraud. He was saying there's fraud in Pennsylvania. Babe, you can't even early vote in Pennsylvania, and the mail-in ballots don't get counted until election day. So what fraud are you talking about? Or are you just perceiving that you're going to lose in Pennsylvania, and so you're already showing disbelief in that system there? It's insane to me. And people are coming online and trying to get their cheers and applause because they finally realize Trump is bad, and they're doing their big one by voting for Kamala this round. Babe, where were you the last two rounds? I actually don't forgive you. I do not forgive you, and I don't think that I have to forgive you. You knew that he had accusations that were beyond awful, and that wasn't a deal breaker for you. You knew that he mocked a disabled person, and that wasn't a deal breaker for you. But finally, it trickled down enough to affect you. His harmful rhetoric, his harmful language, his being that is spewing hate is finally trickling down to affect you, and now you realize he was bad all along. Where was your empathy all along? Where was your understanding of other people's experiences and perspective all along? At the end of the day, better late than never, but no, you don't deserve any applause for it, and you're definitely not going to get applause from me because we've been known this information. We have been known how harmful he is to this country, and yet that wasn't a deal breaker for you. Off my soapbox, it's just that two things can be true at the same time. Yes, I can be thankful for another vote for Harris, but I can also be disappointed and disgusted that the last two times people voted for him, they didn't realize how awful he was when it was spewed and shown everywhere. And it's been so interesting and deeply disheartening to see so many Christians say that Trump is the Christian choice, giving away God's endorsement with such ease in such a lax way. If you're going to vote for Trump, you're going to vote for Trump. But putting God behind your vote for Trump is absolutely insane behavior, because those same people are standing outside of churches. They are on social media saying, come as you are. We love everyone. God loves everyone. God wants everyone. And yet you're saying that God, who loves everyone, who accepts everyone, who wants everyone, would then endorse a man who gets on stage and is the actual antithesis of that. The same man who hires comedians, I put that in quotes, to get on stage and make fun of minority groups simply because it's a joke, because he thinks it's funny, because maybe he's in front of an audience who allows him to do that. I don't know about y'all's God. My God would never endorse that. And I don't delude myself into believing that God told me to vote for any politician. I really don't believe that. I don't think that any politician is worthy or holy or good enough for God's endorsement. And if I were to mix my religion with my politics, the God that I love that loves me is not telling me to vote for Donald Trump. That is just not happening. I don't believe that. Maybe we know different gods. Maybe we have different experiences with different gods. Maybe that is true. But I am not going to go online and say that my God is for everyone, and then say that that same God is leading me to elect a man who is the living, breathing antithesis to that sentiment. I'm not doing it. If you want to vote for Trump, you're going to vote for Trump, but you need to leave God out of it. This American nationalism, this condemnation for existing in any body that is not a white body, a white male body, is so sinful. And we know that because I'm pretty sure we've read the same book that talks all about how that is so sinful. I think it is deeply irresponsible and wildly harmful to say that you are voting for Trump to serve God. A vote for Trump is not serving God. A vote for Trump is serving American nationalism. It is serving another 4 years where whiteness gets to be at the top and at the center. But the fear is that minorities are going to gain power and be able to make difference in our culture, in our country. And maybe minorities would gain enough power to start treating white people the way that white people have treated minorities this entire time, except that is not the goal. That is not the hope. That is not the plan. But we live in a country where we believe someone has to be on the top and someone has to be on the bottom. That is the order of things. But what if that wasn't the order of things? What if people didn't have to suffer so that other people can live in so much abundance that they are covered for generations and generations? A vote for Kamala is a vote towards a future where there is equity and there is empathy and there is shared community in which we all get to be celebrated. We all get to be loved. We all get to be uplifted. We all get to be safe. And And I'm not saying she is the perfect candidate. You are not hearing me say that. I am simply saying she is a step. In which direction do you want to step in? A vote for Kamala is just hopeful. It gives me hope. I am not saying she is perfect. You are not hearing me say that. I am simply saying she is a step in the direction that I want to go. She leads us down a path that I feel comfortable going, a path where there is equity and there is inclusion and there is community. I want that. I want that so bad. I am so hopeful for it. I am so hopeful to have her in the office. I am so hopeful for what is to come after her, for who is to come after her. It is not all about her. It is about who comes next, in the same way that the scariest thing is not even Trump as he stands. It is the precedent that another Trump presidency sets. It is saying we actually can get worse. We can keep going down this path. And that's not the path that I want to go in. At the end of the day, y'all, I just think we deserve better than Trump. I do. I think we deserve better than Trump. And two, I believe that we deserve better than Harris, but we have to get moving in the right direction to get better. I think Republicans deserve better than Trump. I truly do. That can't be the best y'all have got. He can't be the best y'all have got. Come up with something else. Try something else, because Trump isn't working. Trump isn't doing what you think he's doing, because half of your party is living in fear of speaking out against him, and then half of your party is engaging in political suicide every time they do. And I just don't think it should be like that. I don't think it should be like that. I think we should be able to call a spade, and that spade is not the card that I want to be dealt again. Surely not. Surely not. And I just want to remind you that your vote does matter. Your individual vote matters. I know that there's a lot of discourse right now of, canceling out my husband's vote, canceling out my boyfriend's vote, whatever it may be. And it's like, well, no, because we actually don't live in that kind of system. We live in a cumulative system. And so each vote individually has its own value. It is not about canceling out someone else's. It's not about that, because they're all tallied up. It's not that at the end of the day, there's going to be, 500,000 votes because we've canceled out each other. And God willing, there's more than 1 million votes. I know that there's more than 1 million votes. That's just the number that I was using. But we're not canceling out each other's votes. Each vote is a vote. Each vote that Trump gets is a vote of belief that he would be the best president. It is a piece of confidence that he gets to take, thinking, oh, people do want this. He is not seeing the canceled out number. He is seeing the cumulative votes for him. And any number more than 0 is a scary number for me, but your vote does matter. Your individual vote does matter. You go in there and you make a choice for what you want this country to be, what you hope for this country, for yourself and for your children and for your grandchildren, should there be an earth left for our great-great-grandchildren, right? That's what I'm voting for. I am voting for so many things that extend just beyond me. I am voting for things, for people, for environments, for safety that extends just beyond me, because it is not just about me. And a lot of people think that we should be voting in this very individualistic way. But what I hope is that we stop being such an individualistic country, that we start being a country of community again, of loving our neighbors again, of showing up for people again. That is what I'm hoping. And I just don't think that going for Trump is going in the right direction. And I don't think that Kamala is the end-all be-all, the patron saint of the Democratic Party. No, but I do think we have to go in the direction of what we're hoping for. And I know y'all have seen the ads talking about how your vote is private. Your vote is private. You go in there and you handle your business, and no one will ever, ever, ever know. But what I do fear, I've been thinking about this kind of over the past couple of days, is I would love if all women walked into those polls and voted for their own self-interest, but that's actually not what's happening. As we know, that is not what's happening. A lot of women are, but a lot of women aren't. And what I'm afraid of, though, with the rise of this discussion of, how women can go in there and no one will ever know their vote, is that these men who believe that their wives should fall in line with them. If not, what did that man say? That is worse than having an affair, which is rich from someone who actually did have an affair, right? That's kind of crazy. But I do worry that men are going to use that as an excuse to harm and abuse the women in their lives, to berate and harass the women in their lives, to speculate on who they voted for. And even if their wives did vote for Trump, even even if their partners did vote for Trump, that they are going to be accused of not doing that and harassed. It's scary as someone who has been in an abusive relationship that there is no changing your abuser's mind once they decide something about you. If they decide that you voted against them, if they decide that you've done something to betray them or harm them, you cannot convince them, because it is not actually about what you did or didn't do. It is about them having an excuse to hurt and harm you. That is how the abuser's mind works. And I'm so afraid for women who wanted to vote for Harris so bad, but knew that they really were going to get in so much trouble at home if they didn't vote for Trump. And so they voted for Trump, and they swear up and down that they voted for Trump. They are publicly posting about how they voted for Trump, and men in their lives are still going to call them liars and still going to harass them and still going to scare them. That is so heartbreaking to me. That is so devastating to me. And I can't imagine living in an environment like that. And a lot of people are like, okay, well then why did these women marry Trump supporters anyway? Mind you, a lot of women got married before Trump was even on the political scene. A lot of women didn't know their husbands were going to turn out to be Trump supporters. There's a difference between marrying a Republican and marrying a Trump supporter. There is a very big difference, because Republicans were very different than Trump. The Republican Party was so different before Trump. And while I never agreed with it personally, isn't the point. The point is that a lot of women didn't know they were marrying men that were going to go so far right, that were going to go down these really scary pipelines and become completely different women. A lot of women didn't know that, right? And so I think that it's just another way for people to judge and critique and shame women. It is another way for people to harass and berate women. This policing of, oh, well, you married a Trump supporter. Babe, she got married in 2010. There was no way to know that he was going to become a Trump supporter. And shockingly enough, there are some men that were such hardcore Democrats that became Trump supporters, right? So it's like, I think that this shaming women around who they marry and saying, well, they shouldn't have married a man who supports that kind of politics anyway. Men can be so unpredictable. Women can be too, but men can be so unpredictable. You never know. The loving, caring, sweet man that you married could start telling you that you can't leave the house wearing a certain outfit because it disgraces him. It can happen. And what? You just think that all these women should be running to get divorces and blow their lives up and have to split custody for the children that they really did the majority of emotional and physical labor raising? Like, I think that we are so quick to speak on things that we don't know anything about and call it fact and then shame it. It's really just an excuse to shame women. And that's so awful. And yes, there are women who on their own vote for Trump. There are women who on their own support that man, support what he has to say. Yes, absolutely. And those are not women in my life, right? I don't have female Trump supporters in my close circle. It's just that I am so aware of all of the tactics people try to use to shame and critique and judge women, and they call it morality, and it's not actually morality. It is just another way to hurt us and make us feel less than. Women are always the one who suffer the brunt of other people's games. And I want to touch on a little more about what I said earlier, how like if you were a 2-time Trump supporter and now you're voting for Harris, and I stand by what I said about how you don't deserve any kind of applause because yes, you have learned and you have seen the light, and now you're no longer racist or misogynistic. You are believing in equal rights, or maybe it is just, you think that he did a bad job and now you want to see if somebody else can do a better job. Whatever it may be, you don't deserve applause for it. While you were just waiting to see if it was affecting you, it was actually affecting other people. You voting for Kamala now is incredible. I am so glad that you have seen the light, but that does not absolve you from the harm and the pain that you've already centered. Until there's a conversation about that, then there's really no conversation to be had at all. I am begging you to make a plan to go vote. I am begging you to talk to people about your plan to vote. I am begging you to be open and loud about your opinions, because it is really easy to say, if I lived in that time, I would have done something. I would have said something. I would have been the first one to condemn. But we live in a time where you have the opportunity. You actively have the opportunity to use your voice and amplify it in more ways than people have ever had access to. And we don't for whatever reason. And those reasons just aren't good enough. Okay, that's what I have to say. I feel like this episode had a different tone than most of the episodes on the show do, and I can recognize that. And I can recognize that people might be uncomfortable, people might be displeased, but I would rather my followers know where I stand and what I believe in. And maybe I lose some attention, maybe I lose some eyes, but those aren't eyes that I want anyway. That's not attention that I really want anyway. If I get unfollowed for saying that I refuse to vote for or show empathy to a racist, a rapist, no. Obviously, in this episode, you could tell I don't have a lot of empathy for Trump because I don't think that everyone deserves blind empathy. I think that when you extend empathy and it is stomped all over and crushed and abused, you actually have the right to not extend it anymore. And so I'm done extending it. I don't have any more empathy to extend to Trump or his supporters. So that's what I have to say. But I do hope you vote. I hope you go out and you vote for a step in a hopeful direction and in a way that people can actually feel safe and valued in this country. I obviously will never know who you vote for. I won't know, but it is important to me that you know who I voted for. It is important to me that you know where I stand, and that's really all I can do. But what a beautiful privilege it is that we have to vote. And I am actively condemning the sowing of disbelief that our system is a good system, that our voting system is something that needs to be protected and valued. And when we sow disbelief into that system and we make it as if we don't have the right to a free and fair election, which don't even get me started on the Electoral College, but if we sow disbelief in that system, then we don't really have a democracy. I've said a lot. Go vote. Go make your voice heard. Go stand for something. Go stand for something, okay? And make that stand something good and worthwhile and hopeful. And that is all I have to say. I love you so much, and I am on your side. Mwah.